Oh my God. Holy shit. NXT invaded SmackDown, Friday Night SmackDown. What a hell of a SmackDown it was tonight, guys. And one of the best SmackDowns that I have seen in a long time. And I tell you, even though a lot of the guys got stuck in Saudi Arabia due to the flight issue, I gotta say that was the best thing that could have ever happened. I mean, I feel bad for them. I hope that they do make it home soon. I hope that they do. I hope that they have found a way to to make it to get out of Saudi Arabia. It's really sad that that happened with all of the guys that were in Saudi Arabia. But what a what a show that SmackDown was tonight, and I'm just interested and really into seeing what is going to happen next. First, we saw Shayna Baszler attack Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Nikki Cross after Bayley retained her SmackDown Women's Championship against against Nikki Cross in a really good match. That first, when I seen that, that was unexpected. Backstage, you saw a backstage clip after Brock Lesnar was quitting SmackDown and going to Raw to chase after Rey Mysterio. You saw a backstage clip with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, which was kind of an indication that NXT stars would come. But once I seen Shayna Baszler, once I seen Matt Riddle and Keith Lee, I pretty much figured out what was going on because we saw Englishman as the commentator at first, but then it was changed to the McAfee guy, and then you saw Triple H and Shawn Michaels in the back. Seeing Shayna Baszler beat the hell out of Bayley and Sasha Banks. And I mean, I never was a big fan of Shayna Baszler, but I mean, if you want to talk about making an impact, talk about taking over a show, talk about coming to another show and really making a name for yourself. That was the way to do it. I mean, oh my God, she just came out of nowhere and just shoved Sasha straight to the ring post and literally hit both Sasha and Bayley with two hard knees. Um, also hit with Bayley with some gut wrench, I believe, and it just looked insane. Then we saw Sami Zayn in the background saying, as if it seemed like NXT was trying to make some type of invasion, that basically saying he doesn't understand what is going on with this. What are they trying to say here? And then Keith Lee and Matt Riddle chases him into the ring. Both hit him with their moves. I mean, my God, this was an excellent, excellent SmackDown. I did not expect this at all. And just to think that this all happened due to the fact that that all of the guys who were in Saudi Arabia were having issues with the flight. If that hadn't happened, imagine how SmackDown was supposed to go. We were supposed to have the New Day versus the Revival for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. We were supposed to have the Fiend getting interviewed by the Miz on Miz TV, but instead we saw Tommaso Ciampa come out. These two trade blows and promos and face each other in a really, really decent match with Tommaso Ciampa coming out with the victory. Then in our main event, and one of the best main event, and a really, really amazing, incredible match for the first time ever, we've seen Daniel Bryan in WWE perspective, because I'm sure that he's faced Adam Cole in Ring of Honor or some other promotions. We saw them two face each other for the NXT Championship, which has never ever been defended on SmackDown Live, and a match where, in many occasions, I nearly thought that Daniel Bryan was going to come out on top. But after seeing the trend of NXT people, and let me not leave this out before I even get to the main event. After we got the Tommaso Ciampa in the Miz match, which was a really good back and forth match, which in many occasions I thought the Miz was going to come out on top and was Tommaso Ciampa. Then we had Rhea Ripley and Tygan. I can't think of her name right now, but the other girl, Tygan Fox, or however you say her name, they came out. Bianca Belair was backstage, brutally attacked both Dana Brooke and Carmella, who was supposed to face Fire and Desire. Um, on Sony Chandrasville and Mandy Rose, but instead they went against them two in a match that really was only a few minutes because they quickly dismantled them and quickly picked up the victory. I mean, and then from there, I mean, this whole night was just a really good night. I mean, to just think, and this kind of reminds me of um a little over 2 years ago when they had that when they had that the TLC event where it was like it was like some type of disease spreading around the locker room where Roman Reigns was sick from the mumps, and then uh and then Bray Wyatt was also dealing with the illness, and so they literally had changed the whole way that TLC was supposed to go. We ended up seeing Finn Balor against AJ Styles, which was a dream match that we had never seen in WWE, and it just happened out of nowhere, all because of that. Sometimes when things when things happen, when bad things happen, sometimes the outcomes turn out good. And this was just a prime example of that. I mean, just from these guys being stuck in with the traveling issues in Saudi Arabia, look what the outcome of what it gave us. It gave us a whole show dedicated to just NXT people. And I mean NXT Invasion. You gotta hope and wonder. You gotta hope and wonder. Will they retaliate? Will NXT now invade Raw next week on Raw? I'm really interested to see how that's gonna play out. Is it going to be some type of form of retaliation for SmackDown? Because you got to hope and wonder. I mean, SmackDown, every single person, everybody who went against NXT got lost tonight. Daniel Bryan lost in the main event to Adam Cole. Adam Cole retained the NXT Championship in a really good main event. You know, the Miz lost to Tommaso Ciampa. Sandra Deville and Mandy Rose, which the irony in all this is that the people that they're attacking were also once upon a time NXT people in their own right. But now they just look at NXT as an official third brand, something that we wanted, something that we've been asking for so long, for it to not really be a developmental, for it to actually just be a brand of its own. We've been looking and asking for this type of thing to happen for a long time, and it's finally happening, and I'm all for it. Now, like I said, the only thing that I have is a couple of questions that's running to my head. Does this mean that there's going to be some type of alliance between SmackDown and Raw? How is SmackDown going to retaliate? Will this only be tonight? I mean, because if they were going because of the fact that they did this tonight, which I'm pretty sure they had to rewrite this. They probably had to rewrite the whole SmackDown at the last minute just because of everybody having the flight issue from Saudi Arabia. So I'm sure that this wasn't their original plan, or it would have been interesting to see if this was going to happen regardless. If they were able to make it to SmackDown, but I don't think they would have. Or if they did, it just would have been in a different format. I mean, it's so many questions that run through my head on exactly what would have happened if they did not get stuck in Saudi Arabia, if there wasn't the flight problem. But like I said, regardless of what would have happened originally, I am glad that this happened. I'm interested to see if they're going to continue this. I hope this is not a one-time thing that they only did because of the situation of the flight situation, because now you gotta flow with it. I mean, now we're really invested to see what's gonna happen with Raw, what's gonna happen with SmackDown, how they're gonna make it retaliation. I mean, for the last 2 years, all we've been seeing is SmackDown and Raw go back and forth, SmackDown and Raw go head to head. That was, of course, until this year they made that ridiculous wild card rule, and we're still kind of seeing some people flip flop from both shows. And I think now because of them doing that, they kind of ruined the whole dynamic of SmackDown versus Raw each and every year. So now adding NXT into the mix is a new takes, is a new field, it's something different. And it really makes you wonder, is it going to be, are all three brands going to brawl it out? Because I mean, if you see NXT invade, if you see SmackDown members invade Raw, or Raw members invade SmackDown, you've seen it happen so many times that it just wouldn't seem that it wouldn't really be as a big reaction. But for something like this was massive because this is something that we have not seen, and people have been saying that they wanted to see for so long. And the only thing that really comes to my head is the fact that right before Survivor Series, NXT have their own war at War Games the night before. And you got to hope and wonder, is this now going to be a thing in NXT where there's like two different stories going on? Because at the same time of them making a statement on SmackDown, and at the same time of them going head to head with SmackDown and Raw. At the same time, they have their own feuds going on with each other in NXT. So you got to hope and wonder if, it's kind of going to be a thing where they align with each other just for that reason, just because of the fact that they got their enemies in SmackDown and Raw and live with each other for that reason. And they're gonna keep this thing going on with each other in NXT, but at the same time they find some time because NXT is 2 hours now, so it's enough time if you wanted to have SmackDown or Raw members invade. I mean, because you can't just have NXT come into SmackDown's territory and then SmackDown doesn't do anything to retaliate. That's not the way to go. I mean, if you want to make this story good, if you want to make this story on fire, this was a great way to start it. But you got to find a way to keep it going. I mean, in my opinion, one of the best brand wars that they ever did with SmackDown and Raw was in 2005, because that year you really knew that it was a real battle for brand supremacy. Like it was an actual real battle between the two shows, because literally SmackDown was invading Raw, beating the hell out of SmackDown, beating the hell out of Raw members, Raw invading SmackDown. I mean, it was back and forth. Randy Orton ended up winning for the SmackDown's team at that Survivor Series. And of course, he was stalked by The Undertaker afterwards, but he ended up winning for the SmackDown team. But it was truly an actual thing. One of the reasons why now it doesn't really work out like that is because you have so many, because they first of all, they ruined it with the wild card rule. You had so many people flip flopping shows so much and not really stand on that one specific brand. So to have something like I said, like NXT, is just something completely different, and it's something very refreshing into the mix. So you really got to hope and wonder, what does this mean? What does this mean for SmackDown Raw? Are they going to invade NXT? Is it going to happen? Because it is, something's got to happen to keep this going. But at the same time, like I said, NXT have their own stories going on in NXT. So how are they going to break that down? Now that you've added NXT into the mix, that's great. But you also have to keep in mind that NXT have their own feuds going on their own show. They have their own feuds going on the night before. So how's it going to break down? Those are some of the questions that I have regarding the way that they're doing this. Because, on the NXT side of things, you got, for the first time ever, the women are having their War Games matchup at NXT, which I'm really excited to see, because this is the first time they're ever doing that. You got the Tommaso Ciampa. I believe he's facing Adam Cole for the championship at NXT. You have Johnny Gargano going against Finn Balor, which we didn't see either of them. So I mean, what is the story here? What are they trying to say? And what I found interesting is, I saw at the end of the night, after Adam Cole retained the NXT championship, we saw a handful of NXT stars come out, and then I saw Leo Rush, and it makes me wonder, does that kind of mark the end of the 205 Live? I mean, because lately they've still been doing it after SmackDown ends, so it kind of leads to question as to what exactly is 205 Live at this point. If Leo Rush is considered an NXT star, I mean, what is really 205 Live? It might as well be completely canceled if you got people like Leo Rush coming out. That kind of defeat the purpose. But anyway, like I said, great, great way to showcase your NXT guys. Obviously, I'm sure that this was not the original plan. I'm sure that this was a last minute decision due to the flight issue. But like I said, I hope this is not just something that happens once. I really want to see what can they do with this. I mean, if you go a whole Raw, a lot of people now don't even give Raw a chance because of how it can be. But if you go a whole Raw and nothing, you don't see any NXT people coming, no NXT anything, it kind of just really defeats the purpose. Like if you just, because like I said, for so long NXT has been that developmental brand. And at one point, it was a reality series. Is what it was. It was basically a reality series, and then it's what it felt like. And then that's when Triple H took over, and it actually became what it is today, what people know of it is today. And that's why it was so ironic in the commentary when Daniel Bryan was fighting Adam Cole, because they mentioned how he was a part of the Nexus, which is funny that they even mentioned that, because that just goes to show you how NXT used to be, and the irony of a former NXT guy going against a current NXT guy who was actually in the original NXT back when it wasn't the way that it is now. And like I said, you could just really see um that this was definitely a statement. I was excited for it. Like I said, I think every match here was even. The main event was amazing between Adam Cole and, like I said, and Daniel Bryan. And on many occasions, I actually thought that Daniel Bryan. I knew that he wasn't going to win the NXT Championship because it wouldn't have made any sense because Adam Cole is already going to be defending the night before War Games. But you know, at many occasions, especially when he had him locked in the label lock, yes lock. I would just say label lock, and even when he pulled his hand back and like pulled it really back, pulled the hand. He had the Casino back and kept him in a submission hold with constant chops, constant uppercuts. I mean, the German suplex from the top of the rope. I mean, everything you name it. This match was just incredible. The super kicks that Adam Cole gave to the super kicks that Adam Cole gave to Daniel Bryan. The kick that Adam Cole gave Daniel Bryan as he was going for a dive, a suicide dive, going for a dive. And the fact that Daniel Bryan missed his headbutt jumping from the top of the rope. I mean, you name it. That match was just amazing. And, for Adam Cole to hit him with the Animum Sunrise, which is really just another name for the Canadian Destroyer, and then to hit him with the last shot and retain his title was a great way to end the show. I mean, if you really, you talk about SmackDown, you talk about NXT making a statement. This was definitely a statement, but now the question is, what happens next? Because obviously, because like I said, the way that they did this, to me, it would have been better if the whole SmackDown roster had been there. I like I like the dynamic. I like everything that happened tonight, but I think, if the whole SmackDown roster had been there, the effect of it would have been just so much even more perfect. I mean, because you were missing so many people from SmackDown. But if you had the whole roster there that happened, it would have been more massive. Especially considering the fact, and I would have seen this happen anyway because of the whole Brock Lesnar feuding with Rey Mysterio thing. But if let's say that if that wasn't the case, if Brock was not still feuding with Rey Mysterio, what would have been really interesting, and I know that there's no way they would have done this because they just wouldn't have, is if Matt Riddle had came out and just had a thing with Brock Lesnar because I don't know if you guys are aware, but the same way how he's talked about Goldberg, he's also before that has mentioned that he wanted to be the one to, he was going to be the one to retire Brock Lesnar. So that'd have been interesting. They had like a little face off. And of course, I would have seen that happen. And based off what they just did with Cain Velasquez is a perfect example of the way that they're doing Brock matches nowadays. But anyway, like I said, this was a really good invasion. I am all for it. There's still some story questions that I have. There's still some, things that I have as far as like how they're going to continue this. If this, how is this really going to continue to play out? There's still some questions I have about that. But like I said, at the end of it, this was amazing. I'm glad that it happened. That this was well executed. Um, Hands down, just wow. I'm amazed. Reasons like this, man, it just really gives me a reason why I've loved wrestling ever since I was born. Like I said, amazing. And like I said, it's interesting to see what's going to happen on Raw. It's interesting to see if they're going to come to NXT because now you would think, well, if they came to our brand, of course we're going to come back and fight back. How is this going to play out? And they got plenty of time to do it because Survivor Series is not until like the next 3 weeks, so they got plenty of time to fight back and have some retaliation. My thing is though because of the fact we've seen SmackDown Raw go head to head so many times, and because the wild card rule kind of ruins, and you got two titles where people can flip flop brands anyway, the 24/7 title and the women's tag team titles, that's kind of ruined the dynamic of people being from either on Raw or even on SmackDown. It kind of kills them two feuding with each other. So it's kind of like the question I only have is, will this form some type of alliance with them, or all three of them still brawl it out, or will they just simply do a thing where literally right before Survivor Series they just have all three brands show up and just beat the hell out of each other, like in the last episode of SmackDown on the Go Home show of Survivor Series, they just have all three brands just come out and beat the hell out of each other. That might be the way that they go. Um, it's reasons like this that always get me hyped about Survivor Series. Like I said, you don't want to over push these things. But like I said, they did the SmackDown Raw thing 2 years in a row. Um, well, really, they did it 3 years in a row since the brand split started back. But I think the first year they did it, I liked it better when the brand split started back in 2016. I liked it better that year when they did SmackDown versus Raw versus the next year because it was basically like, and NXT's a little different, but it was like they were kind of making the whole SmackDown roster as heels when they just came out and just invaded Raw, and it was good. But like I said, the thing that killed me was just the fact that yeah, I don't know, it was just it was different in terms of like how they did everything that year. But at the end of it, I did still like the AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar match, and all the other matches they did end within that year. I just hated the fact that both years they had Raw come out on top, and even last year Raw came out on top. I don't think SmackDown actually won any of the wars they had with each other for the last 3 years, for the last three Survivor Series, because even though they would win certain matches, I don't think they actually end up winning the whole thing. I think Raw actually won. I know for a fact they won last year because they had a clean sweep. The only win that SmackDown got was at the pre-show, and then and then the year before last, 2017, I believe Raw won that, and 2016 Raw won that. But this time you got NXT in the mix. I hope so that's what kind of wipes that away too, because you had Raw winning so much of it, the war of between SmackDown. Now you got NXT in the mix. You can have NXT probably win majority. But like I said, however they do it, it's going to be interesting. Um, I just definitely had to do a video about this as I found the time with my busy college schedule to watch SmackDown and talk about it. So yeah, so I don't know if Raymaster Flex. I might actually do a review prior to Survivor Series just because of how hype I am at this point. But I just have to see a little bit more build up to see where they're gonna go with this before I can immediately do a video on it. But this is just really amazing. Um and yeah, so like I said, sign off very much to Flex. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys another day. Peace.